So explain this to me. How does a locker room survive when a man walks into it and refuses to bow? How does a so-called chosen one, a self-proclaimed warrior forged by legends, react when a voice he didn't invite suddenly talks back? Because on SmackDown, February 6, 2026, something snapped, and if you felt your blood pressure rise watching it, good. You were supposed to. This wasn't a feel-good moment. This wasn't respect. This was defiance, and it rattled Drew McIntyre to his core. And before we go any further, answer this honestly in the comments. Do you respect someone more when they stay in their lane or when they step out of it? Because Trick Williams didn't just step out of his lane, he blew past it at full speed. Drew McIntyre has spent years crafting this image: steel spine, claymore confidence, a man who believes the ring bends to his will. He's the guy who thinks experience equals entitlement. That scars earned silence from everyone else. And for the longest time, the locker room agreed, heads down, mouths shut, until Trick Williams decided he wasn't built that way. Let's rewind that moment, because if you blinked, you missed the exact second the atmosphere changed. McIntyre's in the ring, pacing like a general surveying conquered land. He's talking about legacy, his legacy, about how SmackDown is starving for real leadership. He's not yelling yet. He doesn't have to. Drew thinks his presence alone does the shouting. And the crowd, mixed reactions. Some cheers, some groans. That uncomfortable tension that says, we've heard this speech before. Then the music hits. Not Drew's, not a legend's, not someone he was expecting. Trick Williams walks out. No hesitation. No wide-eyed awe, no happy to be here energy. He strolls like he owns oxygen itself. And Drew's face? That wasn't anger yet, that was confusion. The kind that says, why is this guy interrupting my moment? Quick question for you. When Trick's music hit, did you lean forward or roll your eyes? Because right there, WWE drew a line in the sand. Trick grabs a mic, and before he even speaks, the crowd's buzzing. They know what's about to happen. They know someone's about to say something they shouldn't. And that's when Trick drops the line that lit the fuse. You talk like this place needs saving. Funny thing is, it doesn't need saving from the outside. It needs saving from you. Pause that. Let it breathe. That wasn't trash talk. That was an accusation. Drew's smile tightens. That fake, dangerous calm. The kind that usually ends with someone getting claymored into next week. But Trick keeps going. No flinch. No backpedal. He talks about how Drew shows up when it's convenient, how he demands respect instead of earning it week to week. He says what nobody else on SmackDown has had the guts to say out loud. And here's the thing that made this moment explode: Trick wasn't wrong. Tell me in the comments. Was Trick speaking facts, or was he asking for trouble? Drew fires back, of course. He always does. He talks about championships, about wars, about carrying companies on his back while kids like Trick were still watching from the sidelines. Classic Drew. Heavy words, heavy history, but something felt different. His voice was louder than usual, his posture tighter. Because Trick wasn't impressed. He didn't interrupt. He didn't mock. He waited. And when Drew finished, Trick just nodded, slow, deliberate, and said, that's the problem. You think the past is enough. That line? That's when the crowd erupted. You could see it in Drew's eyes. That wasn't just disrespect. That was a challenge to his entire identity. And if you know Drew McIntyre, you know there's one thing he cannot tolerate: it's being made to feel replaceable. Let's break this down, because this wasn't random. This wasn't a rookie biting off more than he can chew. This was calculated. Trick Williams has been building momentum quietly, no shortcuts, no handouts, and now, he's staring down one of the most dangerous men on the roster and basically saying, move, or I'll move you. Another quick one for the comments. Who do you think SmackDown belongs to right now, Drew McIntyre or the new generation? The verbal exchange ends without a punch, and that's important. No cheap brawl, no security swarm. WWE let the tension simmer, because sometimes words cut deeper than fists. And Drew leaving that ring without laying Trick out? That told us everything. He didn't win that exchange. Backstage later, cameras catch Drew pacing, fuming. He says Trick's name like it tastes bad. He calls him disrespectful, says he hasn't earned the right to share a ring with him. But listen closely, there's insecurity underneath the anger. Drew isn't just mad, he's threatened. And Trick, calm, smiling. When asked why he stepped up, he says because somebody had to. That's it. No rant, no over-explanation. Confidence so quiet it's loud. Let me ask you this. Is confidence scarier when it's loud or when it's calm? This moment matters because SmackDown has been craving friction like this. Not mentor versus student. Not legend giving a rub. This is collision. Two men who both believe they're the future, one clinging to history, one sprinting toward tomorrow. And let's be real, Drew McIntyre has been here before. He's been the hungry challenger. He's been the overlooked guy. Somewhere along the way, he became the gatekeeper. And gatekeepers hate when the gate gets kicked open. The crowd reactions told the story. Every time Trick spoke, the cheers got louder. Every time Drew tried to shut him down, the boos crept in, not full rejection but doubt. And doubt is poison to someone like McIntyre. Drop this in the comments. Did the crowd turn on Drew or were they just embracing Trick? Because there's a difference. Now imagine where this goes. Imagine Drew deciding that respect must be enforced. Imagine Trick refusing to apologize. That's not just a match, that's a statement waiting to happen. That's a collision where someone walks out validated and someone walks out exposed. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about size or strength. Drew has that edge. This is about momentum, about belief, about whether the locker room sees Trick as a spark or a problem. Backstage rumors already swirl when moments like this happen. You know it. The whispers, the did you see that energy, wrestlers watching the monitor, wondering if Trick just said what they've all been thinking. Because when one person speaks up, it gives others permission to follow. Let's keep it interactive. If this turns into a match, who should win and why? SmackDown on February 6th didn't give us a fight. It gave us a fault line. And fault lines eventually crack. Drew McIntyre doesn't forget slights. He stores them. He sharpens them. And Trick Williams just put himself at the top of that list. But here's the twist, nobody's talking about what if Trick wants that. What if stepping to Drew was never about winning an argument, but about forcing a reckoning? Because nothing accelerates a career like surviving a storm. The question isn't whether Drew can hurt Trick. We know he can. The question is whether Drew can silence him. Because once a voice resonates with the crowd, it doesn't disappear, it multiplies. Answer this honestly. Would you rather be feared backstage or loved by the fans? Because right now, Drew has one. Trick is building the other. And as SmackDown rolls forward, every promo Drew cuts, every match Trick wins, this moment will echo. It's the spark that commentators will replay. The clip fans will share. The line that started it all. That's why this mattered. Not because of what happened but because of what has to happen next. If you're watching Ring Rumble and you felt that tension through the screen, hit that share button. Argue about it. Fight in the comments. Because wrestling is at its best when lines are drawn and nobody backs down. Final question, and don't dodge it. Did Trick Williams make the smartest move of his career or the most dangerous one? Because Drew McIntyre heard him. The locker room heard him. And now the whole world is watching what comes next. Because once the world is watching, there's no backing up, only forward into whatever damage waits on the other side. And make no mistake, damage is coming. The next week on SmackDown, you could feel it before anyone even spoke. Cameras panned backstage and every shot of Drew McIntyre looked tighter, darker, heavier. No jokes. No smirks. Just that 1,000-yard stare of a man replaying disrespect over and over in his head. This is the version of Drew people forget about, the one who doesn't lash out immediately because he's planning something worse. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because when Trick Williams walked through that curtain later that night, the energy flipped instantly. The crowd didn't just cheer, they anticipated. That's dangerous. Anticipation is how stars are born. And Drew knows it. Quick check-in with you. Did you notice how loud the crowd got the moment Trick appeared, even before he spoke? That wasn't coincidence. That was momentum. Trick cut another promo, shorter this time. Sharper. He talked about pressure, how people warn him not to poke bears, not to challenge kings. Then he said something that should have sent chills down Drew's spine. I don't poke bears. I hunt them. The crowd lost it. And somewhere backstage, Drew McIntyre snapped. Because that line wasn't just confidence, it was intent. Moments later, Drew storms out. No music. No build-up. Just rage and boots hitting the ramp. He gets face to face with Trick, and for a split second, nobody breathes. This wasn't a stare down for the cameras. This was two egos colliding in real time. Drew leans in and says, Mike, barely picking it up, you don't know what you're asking for. And Trick? He smiles. Let me ask you. When Trick smiled, did it make Drew look more dangerous or more desperate? Because here's the truth, WWE doesn't say out loud, desperation ages legends faster than losses ever could. Officials swarm. Security tries to step in. Drew shoves past them. Trick doesn't move an inch. That's the detail that matters. He didn't flinch, didn't brace, didn't prepare to run. He stood there like he belonged in that storm. And that's when Drew did something unexpected. He backed up. Not because he was scared but because he wanted the fight on his terms. Later that night, commentary speculated. Is this about pride? Is it about control? Is Drew trying to teach a lesson? But listen closely, none of those questions really matter. What matters is that Trick Williams is now living rent-free in Drew McIntyre's head. And once you're there, you've already won half the battle. Drop this in the comments. Do you think Drew walking away was restraint or a mistake? Because history tells us Drew doesn't walk away unless he's planning something brutal. The following week, Trick has a match. Standard stuff. Solid performance. Crowds with him. He wins clean. But as he celebrates, boom, Claymore out of nowhere. No warning. No music. Drew annihilates him. That pop? Nuclear. And here's where the crowd reaction gets fascinating because half the arena cheered and half booed. That split right there? That's money. That's controversy. That's exactly what WWE wants, and exactly what Drew hates. He stands over Trick's body, chest heaving, and finally grabs a mic. "You wanted my attention," Drew says. "You've got it. Not a threat. A promise." Another question for you. Was that attack justified, or did Drew prove Trick's point? Because from where I'm standing, Drew didn't silence the noise, he amplified it. Medical staff rush in. Trick tries to sit up. Drew stomps him back down. Officials pull Drew away and he's screaming now about respect, about earning your place, about not skipping the line. The irony is thick enough to choke on. Because Trick didn't skip the line. He forced the line to move. Backstage later, Trick's taped up, wincing but smiling again. That same calm smile. He says now everyone knows how scared he is. Scared. That word alone lit social media on fire. Tell me in the comments. Is Drew McIntyre scared of losing his spot, or just furious someone wants it? Because those are two very different fears. From this point on, every single thing Drew does gets filtered through Trick. Wins don't feel clean. Promos don't feel confident. He's louder, angrier, over-explaining. And Trick? He barely talks. He lets Drew do the work. That's psychology. And if this ends in a match, and let's be real, this isn't about who hits harder. It's about who breaks first. Drew's strength has always been his intensity, but intensity without control turns into recklessness. And Trick is betting everything on that. Imagine the bell rings. Imagine Drew charging like a bull. Imagine Trick weathering the storm. Every kick-out fuels the crowd. Every Drew mistake gets louder. And suddenly, the question shifts from can Trick survive to can Drew finish this? That's the danger zone. One last question before we wrap this chapter. If Trick beats Drew, does it make him a star or does it end Drew's aura forever? Because WWE history is full of moments where the torch didn't get past, it got ripped away. And SmackDown, February 6, 2026? That wasn't just a highlight. That was the first crack in something much bigger. A collision between legacy and hunger. Between entitlement and audacity. Trick Williams didn't ask for permission. Drew McIntyre didn't give forgiveness. And Ring Rumble will be right here when it all explodes. Now argue about it. Fight about it. Share it. Because this story is far from over and the next move could change everything.